Chapter 3 Negotiations in the Sky. The rain was heavier now, streaking sideways against the cabin windows as Flight 305 traced another slow arc over Puget Sound. Below, the lights of Seattle glimmered like a scattered handful of coins. The captain's voice, calm but clipped, came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're just waiting on some paperwork before we can land. Thank you for your patience." No one questioned it. The passengers shifted in their seats, checked watches, glanced out into the darkness. In the cockpit, the radio buzzed with terse exchanges between Captain Scott, Seattle Air Traffic Control, and FBI negotiators on the ground. The ransom money had been gathered, 10,000 $20 bills, each serial number recorded, packed neatly into a canvas bank bag. The parachutes had been acquired from a local skydiving school, hastily driven to the airport. Cooper sat in 18C, legs crossed, cigarette balanced between two fingers. The smoke curled upward, vanishing into the hum of recycled air. Florence Schaffner sat beside him, notebook in hand, scribbling down any detail the FBI might need. "How's it looking?" he asked. "They're getting everything together," she replied. "They'd better," Cooper said, but there was no edge in his voice, just certainty. At 5:46 p.m., the cockpit received confirmation. The money and parachutes were ready. Cooper nodded when Florence relayed the message. "Tell the captain to land," he said. The 727 descended through thick cloud, rain hammering the fuselage. The runway lights at Seattle-Tacoma International emerged from the mist, glowing against the wet tarmac. The wheels hit with a muted thud, reverse thrusters roaring, slowing the jet to a crawl. Cooper leaned toward Florence. "Remember, no one comes near this plane except the fuel truck and the person bringing the goods. If anyone else tries, we're back in the air." The passengers had been told they were free to disembark once the mechanical issue was resolved. As the stairway rolled into place, they filed out slowly, some glancing back at the man in 18C, most too distracted by the delay to notice him. The cabin was suddenly quiet, the empty rows gleaming under the overhead lights. Only Cooper, the crew, and the hum of the engines remained. Through the rain-streaked window, Florence saw a man in a trench coat approaching the plane, carrying a large bag. He stepped inside, placed the ransom on a nearby seat, and left without a word. Moments later, another man brought in the parachutes, 2 primary, 2 reserve, and set them beside the money. Cooper inspected everything with quick, precise movements. He rifled through the bundles of cash, feeling their weight, then checked each parachute harness. One of the reserve chutes was a training model, non-functional, but he said nothing. Outside, the fuel truck pulled alongside, hoses snaking toward the wing. Cooper stood at the rear of the cabin, watching through the rain-streaked glass. The crew in the cockpit waited for his next move. He spoke without turning. "We're going to Mexico City. Flaps at 15 degrees, gear down, altitude no more than 10,000 feet, airspeed around 200 knots, and leave the rear stair down." The cockpit relayed his instructions to air traffic control. Controllers protested. The plane would burn fuel too quickly at that configuration. But Cooper was immovable. He agreed to a refueling stop in Reno, Nevada, if necessary. The fuel truck rolled away. The engines surged. The rain outside was now a shimmering sheet in the taxiway lights. As they lifted into the night again, the cabin felt heavier somehow, quieter, emptier, like a stage before the final act. Cooper gathered the cash into a single canvas bag, looping rope through the handles and tying it around his waist. He worked with slow, deliberate movements, as if he'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. One parachute he set aside, The other he spread across 2 empty seats, inspecting the cords. Florence lingered nearby, torn between fear and curiosity. "Why 4 parachutes?" she asked quietly. Cooper smiled faintly. "To make them think I might take a hostage." He adjusted the straps. "People are more careful when lives are in their hands." Outside, the black void of the Pacific Northwest night stretched in every direction. Somewhere ahead lay Reno. Somewhere below, a wilderness vast enough to hide a man forever. And somewhere between the two, D.B. Cooper would vanish.